and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I don't always but when I do, it's down with the sickness.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss The Midnight Meat Train, which came out in 2008 from director Ryûhei Kitamura. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Leon, played by Bradley Cooper. He's an up-and-coming photographer who's looking for his one big break within the art world of New York. He starts to follow a man at night who may also be a butcher, played by Vinnie Jones. And as he starts to investigate this man, it may take him to a place that he really doesn't want to go.
This is, of course, an adaptation of one of Clive Barker's short stories,
Yep.
The Midnight Meat Train, from the Books of Blood.
Yeah.
Big fan of Clive Barker, although some of his movies, they're questionable.
Well, I mean, the first couple of a series of his films, but...
We definitely love Hellraiser, and I love Candyman.
Actually, in fairness, I've seen a lot worse than Rawhead Rex recently.
Of course. But Lionsgate Studios, the company behind this film, they took one look at Midnight Meat Train and thought it was utterly awful.
What, the short story?
No, the film once it was made.
Oh, okay. And
there was a new studio head in charge, and he just went, "This is dreck. So we're just going to release this film to a few $100 theaters." And so as a result, the film had a budget of about $15 million.
Yeah.
And only brought in about $30,000 on its opening weekend. Because it just went to a few dollar theaters, and because it made such little amount of money.
Yeah.
When they were trying to distribute it overseas, companies looked at it and went, well, if it made that much in America, we ain't putting it in our theaters. So it just went straight to DVD.
Yeah, I was going to say, this was a straight to DVD film from
it was
my
for
perspective.
the UK. Absolutely, yeah. And I just think that it's almost a bit of a travesty, really. Because there is actually some pretty decent moments in this film.
I remember when this film was on DVD, I think you got it at the time, and then you watched it, going for a slew of horror movies, and then you said, hey, you got to watch Midnight Meat Train. I'm like, yeah, too, okay. And I look at it and I'm like, it's got Vinnie Jones in it.
Yeah, but he doesn't say anything.
Well, I didn't know that at the time, and then more people started to watch it on DVD, and they're like, have you seen Midnight Meat Train? I'm like, no. And weirdly enough, the film caught my eye because I hadn't seen it, and I had seen no trailers. It hadn't been in the cinema. Once you got it and watched it, it stuck with you. And so I was just like, I need to watch this film. Fast forward like 11 years later, where I just have never got around to it. And somebody says, hey guys, can you review Midnight Meat Train? I'm like, yes! Finally, I get to watch this film, because after all that time of looking at Vinnie Jones in this horror movie and going, I've actually really started to like at least performances Vinnie Jones has pulled off in certain films.
Sure.
Snatch, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
They were perfect for him.
Yeah, Mean Machine. Mean Machine's not too bad.
Yeah.
He's kind of a local hero, Footballer running around.
Football hooligan. Turned actor.
But him playing a killer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You've got my attention.
And the film doesn't shy away from revealing that he is the killer to you at all, does it?
No.
I mean, we have that kill at the beginning. We have the guy on the subway.
Yeah.
Slipping in blood with the hands.
He just wakes up and I'm like, where's place? Because it's everyone's fear, isn't it? Waking up on the bus, or the train or the plane and everybody to be gone.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stuck. And then he walks out and he slips on that blood and I'm like... It's a lot of blood.
Right. and he's, soon dispatched of. But it's not long before we do realise that, Vinnie Jones is the killer. It's like there's no big mystery to that.
Seeing him with that hammer is quite intimidating.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have our hero, Leon, played by Bradley Cooper, who is a photographer, kind of an artist, kind of a struggling artist, and he wants to have his big break. And in order to do so, he's from the short story, he's a character who fell in love with New York.
Right.
But then, over time, realised, that's a pretty big, seedy underbelly of it. And so he's trying to capture the heart of the filth of New York.
I think, actually, the film should have been set in London.
Right.
I think he should have been... Bradley Cooper... I was very surprised that Bradley Cooper was in this. When he turned and looked at the camera, I'm like, it's Rocket Raccoon! Oh, my God!
How did you recognise him?
just the voice, you know, just. But I'm like, oh my god, how has this film been out for so long, but nobody's actually turned to me and gone, hey, it's Bradley Cooper. You know,
I think people forgot.
the big name, the guy from The Hangover, and was it Limitless? You know, and he just did The Star Is Born. You know, this is the new generation kind of Tom Hanks at the moment. He's good looking and charismatic, and maybe not as good as Chris Pratt, but certainly good in certain places. When I realized it was set in New York, I was like, it's kind of a bit boring. You missed out on a moment there because this is Clive Barker. You know, if you set it in London with the underground, you know, and him being a struggling artist, him trying to actually find a job in London, where in this one he goes up against Brooke Shields.
Yeah, and Brooke Shields isn't interested in his work.
No. Trivia fact for you about Brooke Shields.
No?
She once farted on the set of Blue Lagoon.
I farted once on the set of Blue Lagoon.
And yeah, she doesn't want to have. She has a certain type of clientele, and he needs to bring her the gritty side of the city. You know, she wants to see the dark underbelly, the realism, and I'm like, right, okay, so he's gonna start going out at night, which he does.
Yeah.
And he's following those three gang members. You know, he's just walking around and just with the camera. This is, I suppose, in a way, this is why it's set so well in New York, because there's probably someone in New York right now walking around with a camera going click, click, click. Don't worry, just stay there. But that whole sequence with the gang members, and they're gonna attack and rape this girl, and he calls one of them out, and he starts to come walking up the steps, and Bradley Cooper's there just popping cameras. I'm like, oh shit, he gonna get messed up.
Right.
But then when he points up to the camera, you know, I don't think you actually see it in any of the other shots, but when he points up, it's like, ha, you're on camera now and cops will be involved. I'm like, oh, he's smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, you have that confrontation where you just think that maybe these gangsters don't give a fuck that they're on CCTV. But no, he calls his cronies off and then they walk off. But he still turns to him, he's like, you're a dead man.
Yeah.
And this is an odd bit where this model would find out, you know, she's just been saved from being raped, and then she immediately makes out with Leon. It's just like, okay, it's
Bradley Cooper, man. I mean, you know, like
you just throw yourself at
you just throw yourself at Bradley Cooper every now and again.
And then she gets on the subway and disappears, and you know.
But you get that amazing part where the hand pops up against the
door to keep it open.
And you're like, I have a feeling I know who this is. And I started to like this about the director. I mean, is it Ryûhei Kitamura? I mean,
he's directed some interesting Japanese films.
Yeah, Azumi is one of my favorite
I love
movies.
I love his camera work in Azumi as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen Versus, and our friend Dave would probably hate me because he'd be like, we've watched it so many times, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's a fond memory I have of Versus.
Like, I'm sure I fell asleep a couple of times, but he also did No One Lives with Luke Evans only a few years ago, and I didn't realise it was him directing No One Lives at the time, but after watching No One Lives, that film is as dark and disturbing as The Midnight Meat Train.
Sure.
So knowing all that, like, everything's flowing well, and when she's on the fucking subway and this actress or this model puts her headphones in, I was loving this sequence because she has no idea what's coming.
You just see the silhouette of him in the background. You can see the hammer being raised up, and now granted the wallop to the side of her head, and and her head twisting, I was a bit like I felt the impact. I like the sound effect, but I don't know. There was just something just a little bit off about it. Rewatching it,
it's the blood effect, and this will.
But there was no blood in that shot.
No, but there's also something in the action sequences, I suppose, that just seems a bit like what you normally say? You know, your brain knows it's not real, kind of aspect.
Yeah.
You know, and I kept getting that from these kills. Like, I felt the impact, and then I was like, "Ooh, that hurt," but blood splashes and sequences would happen where I'm like,
well, we have the sequence where we have Ted Raimi,
yes,
with his wife, and you know, some sort of business executive that they're friends with.
Yeah,
and he's trying to incite a threesome, And Ted Raimi's just like, no, none of that will be happening. And of course, again, you can see Vinnie in the background coming up. You see the hammer, and he smacks Ted Raimi right in the back of the head, and you see his eyeballs fly out, kind of almost Evil Dead style.
Yeah.
You know, but that is the CGI where you're just like, that looks so awful.
So awful.
Like, incredibly awful. And part of me was wondering whether, you know, the budget restraints at the time, or whether it was intentional to try not to make a film that would be, you know, X-rated, you know, so that it would at least get a certificate that it was kind of almost comedic.
Because the time it came out, we're talking 2008, you know, and when I saw the eyes pop from Ted Raimi, it made me think of the Survival of the Dead head pop, and I'm like, well, actually, the CGI is a little bit better than Survival of the Dead, but not going by much. But with the whole practical effect, would it have worked? You know, how much time would it have taken? You know, would it have run them over budget? And with this film already, in a weird way, future failing in the eyes of the movie company that's putting them out, they're trying to just get it done,
right?
You know, and the eyeball effect was so bad, but I once again felt the impact, and I was like, yeah, Ted Raimi's dead. You know.
But then the other guy gets smacked. She gets smacked with it.
Her kill was really good.
A couple of smacks to the head, and her head kind of bounces off, and the camera effect, you know, it simulates
but that's it.
The head roll.
We've just sat through this whole sequence where she's being dragged backwards, and we watch it from her eyes.
POV shot, yeah.
And you know, like I said, the director's really good at this. The CGI work, not so much for the kills, but when you are looking through the eyes at somebody who's just about to hit you in the head with a hammer, as intimidating as Vinnie Jones is, and he hasn't said a fucking word for this whole half hour that we've sat through the film. Whack, whack, and her head goes rolling off. Mm-hmm. You know, but then the camera comes out of her eye, I think.
Yeah.
And he starts to...
She blinks once as well, as if she's still, you know, seeing what's just happened to her.
A few seconds of life in her head.
That's the, I don't know, it's the myth, isn't it? I don't know whether it's real or not.
I don't really want to kind of see it.
So with these kind of disappearances that are occurring, this is where it deviates a little bit from the original short story, because in that one the bodies kept turning up on the subways, and the police were investigating the butchers and trying to figure it out. But now all of that is given to Leon, who's kind of convinced after the news reports that this girl that he had saved had disappeared, and after these other disappearances, he starts investigating it. He's getting a little bit of acclaim from his photography work. And at the same time, though, we do the film slows down quite a bit where we explore his relationship.
He fucks his girlfriend in pretty much almost every sequence up until she starts to believe him.
Right, yeah, but it's kind of how it works. Whereas before, you know, he's into his work and she's the one inciting.
Yeah, but they have sex at the beginning where she's like, "Hey, I'll talk to my friend Jurgis and get your pictures taken out," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then there's another sequence, like I was trying to research something, and they're in the cafe, and he just throws her over the side.
Yeah, but it's to show at that point a transition in him.
I started to get that. I was wondering where the film was going with it, because he's following the butcher, and he spotted him at night, and he's just started to follow him, and he finds that he's just weird. Yeah. You know, Vinnie Jones is just weird at this point.
When he wears a suit to go to work in the butcher's.
Oh, he wears a suit everywhere.
Right.
He wears a suit everywhere, and he takes care of himself, and he's not saying anything. And I'm really loving it that Vinnie Jones, you know, Mr. Bullet Tooth Tony, who's gotten by because of this Cockney accent in a lot of his performances, doesn't say a word in this. And when he like kind of stops Leon in the street, you know, Leon's following him, and he's just fucking stood there.
And he doesn't even turn around, does he? He's just pauses.
He just stops him. But Leon also goes to the police and says, "Look, you know, I've been following, you know, I've got this information. I know this girl as well." And the police are just kind of telling him to, you know, calm down a moment, you know, we need to look at your photos.
Well, she kind of half accuses him of being the killer.
Yeah.
because he was the last one to see her. He's got the last picture taken of her.
But it's very weird. Yeah, it's a very weird, suspicious feeling you're getting at this point that the detective, maybe she's been investigating it for a very long time.
Yeah,
but Leon's not the killer. So her questioning him kind of put me on the back burner to say, well, okay, I'm keeping an eye on you.
Right.
Leon follows the butcher to his job and sees him preparing all the meat. And then at the end of his shift, the butcher just goes and sits in the train station. And I just love that sequence where everybody's just zooming past Vinnie Jones and he's just waiting. Just sitting there waiting to get on. And he finally gets on and we see Rampage Jackson turn up.
I like this moment.
B.A. Baracus.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's 2 from the A-Team.
2 from the A-Team is it? I thought that was actually brilliant. But yeah, it's just a devastating fight sequence.
Well, he kind of tries to jump scare him, doesn't he? He kind of tries to intimidate Vinnie, and Vinnie's just like, no.
Yeah.
And then, he's got that moment where you just see him bring up the hammer, come up, and then just smack it right into the window. And then kind of a fight, a brawl does take place where they do throw each other around this carriage.
But it's still that thing where I'm like, it doesn't seem real in certain moments, But you can see as well that the butcher is injured because he coughs up blood at one point. Like, that this guy can easily overpower anybody. But now he's okay. Rampage Jackson is a bit of a big badass, but this feeling I got from the butcher was that he was supernatural. But in a weird way, this is what pulled me back because I'm like, oh, he should be able to easily kill him in like 3 or 4 hits. Oh, he's coughed up blood, and now they've actually got a fight. Okay, there's something up there. But he finally takes him down by the driver just coming along and shooting the Rampage Jackson right in the back of the head, and you get the CGI.
Yeah, blood splat.
Headshot wound, which I was like, oh, it's good.
It's okay. That one was okay. Compared to the eye splat, that one wasn't too bad.
Yeah. But it's the way as well that the driver, played by Tony Curran, just says to Mahogany.
Disappointed in him.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in you, Mahogany. And I'm like, oh, he's got a name. And they're in
and the conductor's in on it.
Yeah, this is like a
conspiracy.
It's not like a murder mystery though to me at this point. I'm like, you just took down
the mystery is why they're doing it.
Yes, yes. Leon is having dreams of the subway and also of him being killed by the butcher who has the face of himself. And like we said, there's this whole transition period where they're just like Bradley Cooper kisses her ass in the cafe. I was like, ooh, that's a bit much, Mr.
Well,
Cooper.
it's a kind of I can think he butt fucked her, and I think it's to show the change in his psyche, especially after he has been caught by Mahogany on the train where he'd sneak down there, he'd watch these 2 guys get beaten, and then trying to escape, he got caught.
Yes.
And he wakes up with these markings in his chest.
Well, yeah, we'd seen at this point as well the butcher preparing the bodies.
Yes.
And when Cooper wakes up, or Leon wakes up in the train, creatures, some kind of creatures, you don't really see what they are, come into the train and start to attack the bodies. And then he wakes up in the basement of the meatpacking place in which the butcher works. And when I saw the markings on his chest as well, when he's looking at his body, I was like, oh, you've been marked.
Yeah.
This is now massively supernatural, but this explains also what is going on with the butcher, because we've seen him at his home, his apartment, and he's cutting these things,
like barnacles, aren't they? Yeah,
off his chest, like ulcers, like something on his body is killing him. He's dying.
There's a sequence. It reminded me of The Fly, where he's kind of got a museum of all of his body parts in a glass.
Yeah.
But later on, Leon's girlfriend and their friend sneak into his apartment, and they realize he just has the same suit over and over and over again. I was like, that's like Brundlefly.
Yeah. Well, there's a transition period where Leon, over time, isn't sleeping. He's not really working.
He's consumed and obsessed with his
eating
work.
meat. Well, he's obsessed with finding out who the butcher is,
Yeah.
and like there's a part where Maya comes into the apartment and she's looking around like, oh my god, what's going on? You know, you're obsessed, and I'm like, how did you not notice this morning? Like, we've seen other shots
Yeah.
where he's hanging photos in front of the kitchen stove and along the wall, so he was slowly taking over. This whole thing was slowly taking over his life anyway, which was good. It's really
Yeah.
good, you know. And he's investigating all of the disappearances, like the bodies are gone. She decides to go to the apartment with Jurgis to find evidence, and when they get there, like, paint by numbers. You wait here, okay, and see if he comes back. And then Jurgis comes in and goes, "Oh, I'll help you work." And I'm like, who the fuck's watching the door? This guy's a ninja. He's a fucking Terminator. And Vinnie Jones does just walk in, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Puts the bag down and just kind of tilts his head like,
Something's out of place. And so yeah, he captures Jurgis, and she goes running all the way to the cops.
This was another turning point for me as well, because while Maya is talking to the detective has a particular necklace.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty identical to one of a particular ring.
But you wouldn't notice it unless you were paying
Oh, yeah.
attention.
Oh, yeah.
And like I was paying attention, so as soon as I saw this necklace, you know, Jurgis is gone at this point, you know, and she's also Maya picked up this portfolio or wallet of just all the timetables for like 50 years. So the butcher's been doing this for a long time. And I love how his apartment is so clean.
Right, yeah.
You know,
It's immaculate.
it made me start to.
But it's the same way like when you saw him preparing the bodies, you know, the precision
Yeah.
of the shaving of the heads, the removing of the fingernails,
but-
the eyeballs, and the way that everything gets put in you know, in airtight packets.
But with this film, I was trying to overthink it because I wanted to understand how the film was playing out. But I was trying to also not overthink it because the film's just allowing me to understand this character really gradually.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's yes, he's supernatural, and yes, he's been doing this a long time, and yes, you are going to find out, but you can question everything you see or just wait for it to happen. And when it brings me back to the detective, when Maya's talking to the detective and you see the necklace, I'm like, they're in on it. This whole whoa, this city, the city's like, what? And Maya goes and steals a gun from her boss.
Yeah.
And she gets confronted by the detective again, and she explains to her that Jurgis will be on the 2:00 train. I'm like, don't go. Just don't go. But Leon at this point as well has seen a photo of his, of the butcher, at Brooke Shields' art exhibition. And it calls to him. It draws him. You know, he looks like he's going crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's also got this look of, I need to confront this. I don't get the whole, I need to stop this kind of feeling from him.
He just needs some resolution. He needs to know what it's all about as well.
Yeah, but he goes and tools himself up at the meatpacking plant. You know?
Yeah, he gets the chainmail,
Chainmail
all of the
apron.
knives.
Yeah.
He's ready to dance.
I like that chainmail apron.
Yeah.
That's like really good.
It can deflect bullets, did you know?
No, I didn't know, but I can't get me one.
Because they get on the train and, you know, as you imagine, there's a great big scuffle.
Yeah.
And Mia, she shoots at him. She completely misses until the bullet does ricochet off the chainmail.
Well, she finds Jurgis as well, doesn't she? And
He's
realizes
tied
that
up
he's
like
still
the others.
alive, but the other bodies have all been prepared to. So, like, somebody's told him to keep him alive, you know?
I don't know whether the butcher just hasn't got to him yet.
No, well, he's hung up. He's
Yeah.
hooked up. And if I get anything from the way that the butcher prepares his stuff, how he does his
They're
job,
hung up once they're done.
and
yeah.
how the creatures I've seen, like, I started to put together how the creatures feed on the bodies. You know, you need to remove the teeth and the fingernails and
And
shave
the
the hair.
eyeballs.
That stuff doesn't digest.
No, right,
You know,
yeah.
and if these things are shitting wherever they are and they're eating the flesh, they can use Vinnie Jones to do their dirty work. Having Jurgis there was like a moment, like this. That was supposed to keep Maya there, and then Maya confronts the butcher. She can't hit for shit, which I thought was really good.
Right.
Like she's never fired a gun in her life, and the butcher then is confronted by Leon, and they have this fight, And you watch Jurgis get gutted.
Right. That was a fountain of blood.
That guy's tired up. Like, please, somebody fucking... Like, he can't get down. The hooks are through his ankles. That was painful.
Oh, yeah.
But then the whole knife fight, I'm like, get away from him. You're going to kill your friend. Oh, he's dead. Well, that's that done.
And yeah, it's a pretty epic knife fight. They stab each other, they throw each other around, they smash the carriage to pieces.
Yeah.
But it's not long before they do put Vinnie down.
Well, they throw him out of the train.
Yeah.
And he's gone. And I was like, oh my fuck, he's gone. You know? And the train comes to a stop.
It's like they're in hell. You
Yeah.
know? It's like there's no station, there's no platform.
Well, that's the weird. It says City Hall Station. So I'm like, this is still under the city.
This is under the central part of the city.
This is under the central
This is
part of the city.
where all the revelations will be given to us.
Yeah, because the driver comes out and he basically, loosely, not very massively detailed, but loosely explains that they do this every night to keep whatever's here. Like, I want to say hell, I want to say another dimension, I want to say it's underneath the city. You don't get told.
It's the big Lovecraftian monster thing, you know?
Yeah, there's a dark place where people are taken to be eaten by these things. Like, you don't even see, like I would have liked to have seen big groups of them in the background.
Yeah, and then they're not the focal point. They're kind of like shadowy monsters that you see them in the carriage pulling the bodies down, and you see that ankle being torn as it gets pulled off the hook.
Good thing he was dead.
But yeah, they look more like ghouls.
Yeah,
they
imps, I would say, do
I mean, you'd think you could just bring a SWAT team down there with a bunch of flamethrowers, Chud style.
You'd have to get past the butcher and the driver first.
Yeah. But, it's kind of the eldritch idea that these minions or these creatures are the ones that are actually running the city.
Yeah, but yes.
And that's what's suggested to you. And
yes,
so, like,
especially
maybe
through the cop.
That there's a lot more going on even now than what we're seeing.
Well, I got it from the guy, the driver, that, if they don't do this, something bad, something worse will happen.
Yeah.
The creatures will get out.
But it's also suggested in a way, and maybe I'm confusing it with a book, that this is in every city, in every town, in every state around the world that this is happening.
Nice.
And so it's just like you got to keep a lid on this thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens because Mahogany turns up again.
Yes, he's not fully dead, which I thought was pretty cool. Makes him really more Terminator-like than you wanted to believe. And they have this whole beat-down fight to the point where he stabs him in the neck. Leon grabs this broken piece of bone. There's bones all over the ground. And he picks up this broken piece of bone and stabs him through the neck. And Vinnie Jones just drops to his knees. And one word, he just says, welcome.
Welcome.
I'm like, And now I've, experienced Horror Watcher. The big bad has died, but this is a big operation and they need to keep it going. So they need a new butcher. And Maya has been taken out. She's lying on like a big pound of bones. And the driver just walks over and stabs her in the chest.
Rips her heart out.
Rips her fucking heart out. And offers it to Leon.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
He rips out Leon's tongue as well and eats it.
Yeah, and you can then know that's what happened to Mahogany as well.
Yeah.
Vinnie Jones, he's had his tongue removed.
Yeah.
And, it's to stop you talking, I guess, to stop you spreading the story of what's going on. But it's almost like in the book, it's an honor and a privilege to serve these creatures.
Yeah. That's
And,
how I got from the driver as
But
well.
you get a sense of that there's a kind of a dark magic behind it as well, with the carvings that's been put into his chest. Like a spell that's, forcing you into the servitude.
Yeah.
And makes you want to do it.
See, the whole heart thing as well, I put down to maybe if he consumes Maya, she'll always be with him. Because when he... Like it's done really well. The whole ending, you watch this person put together their suit and the detective finishes them off. But as they walk out, as this person walks out of the apartment, there's the photo. And I'm like, wow, that's allowed? Like, he's allowed to have that part of his history? That's pretty cool. But Everything I was liking up to this point was really good. Up to the point where Bradley Cooper, like I really like the fact that the ending is the beginning.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
see the guy from the beginning asleep on the train, and we see everybody else just happily sat there. And I'm like, they're all dead. But then Bradley Cooper turns up, and he turns his head and does the look, and it's just not as intimidating as Vinnie Jones is.
Not at all. But it works for the ending. You just feel like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's
right.
come full circle in a way, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do like that. And the other thing I did like that was more in the book was that Mahogany kind of, he knew, he was in his late 70s in the book because he'd been
Right.
doing it for so long.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, they don't live forever.
No.
And
no.
he needed somebody, a new recruit to take the mantle of his work.
Right.
He knew that he was too old and he needed to train somebody up to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the film, you kind of get a sense of that because whenever
Vinnie
whenever
Jones
Vinny's
does-
looking at him, he's kind of got this smile, like, yes, my
Yeah.
my protege is doing what I want him to do.
Well, it's that turning point. Like Leon starts to follow Mahogany, but then Mahogany, well, after Leon's been captured and marked, Mahogany is then following Leon. You see him outside the
Yeah.
cafe.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I did I was getting that
The reverse cat and mouse. Yeah.
yeah, but did they know did he know he was going to die? Did he let him die? Like, was he aiming to kill Leon at the end?
Not really. Like I said, well, from the book's
Well, he had-
perspective, he was ready to pass the mantle on.
He had to have Leon prove that he was strong enough to take
and be
out-
prepared for. Yeah.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah, that's quite a lot to it. So do you have any memorable favourite moments from
Yeah,
the film?
I have a couple of favorite sequences. I love the Vinnie Jones as the killer. I think out of all of the films that I've watched Vinnie Jones in, this and Bullet Tooth Tony, his
Yeah.
two best performances. That first kill with the girl with the headphones, whack with the hammer. I love that. I just love the director's way of doing it as well. Like, your focus is on this girl, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, and you just watch her get. Ted Raimi, being killed. Yeah, Ted Raimi getting killed. But then his wife, her POV shot, once again, the director's camera work, her hands being dragged, and then the two hits, and the head rolling off. It's like, ooh. Sex in a cafe. Bradley Cooper kissing that woman's ass. Like, that's pretty damn good. I also like the butcher waiting at the station. I did like the sequence where he got captured. Where he's hung up and the creatures come out. Like, I wanted to see more of the creatures when they turned up, but then at the same time, experienced horror watcher, you don't want to, because they are just a bunch of rubber suits.
Yeah.
But the fact that you hear the noise, you see what they do with the
It's
bodies.
your imagination doing a lot of the work. You're seeing snippets of, and then the horror is going on behind.
But at the same time, the preparation that the butcher had gone through with the bodies, like I said, the pulling of the teeth and the fingernails, I loved all
That
those
was grim,
sequences.
wasn't it? It was hard to watch.
But it just made my mind he's not doing this for pleasure. He's not doing this for himself. This is his job. And the fact he's going back and working at a meatpacking plant and just using it, like, which one did he have first?
Right.
And yeah, the whole ending sequence, just a big twist as well. Watching Jurgis get killed, the fight sequence, Vinnie Jones coming back as a Terminator, the driver Tony Curran coming out and having his piece, all up to obviously the flip and seeing that it loops around to the beginning. Don't look at Bradley Cooper's face.
Well, I think you've pretty much listed all the best moments from the film, really. Yeah. Yeah. Which is why I'm just going to jump straight into my recommendation, and I definitely recommend The Midnight Meat Train. This is a definitely way above average horror mystery thrill ride, and it's a fairly decent Clive Barker adaptation. I really love the Lovecraftian vibe of the film, but there just wasn't quite enough of that, as it was mainly just an over-the-top gory splatterfest with some pretty decent acting from a pretty good cast.
Yeah.
There was some really disturbing visual moments and some awful CGI. The overall atmosphere and the tone, it definitely keeps you invested to the otherworldly ending. Great visual style,
Yeah.
creepy and effective music, memorable kills that were fast and brutal. And this is definitely worth a watch. I almost loved it and would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I agree with everything my friend says there, and thinking about what he was saying then as well. At the time that this film was set, they were going for gory CGI kills.
Yeah.
You know, you could. I'm gonna put my money on this. You could remake this movie. You could bring back Vinnie Jones as an old butcher. You could set it in London and give it more of a Lovecraftian feel, and just take out the CGI stuff. You know, just have practical effects. Maybe old school Hellraiser style. You know, hammers to the heads and bludgeons and skin being ripped off by creatures. You know, it could possibly be the better Clive Barker movie.
It could be. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
I said, where are you going?
I got a train to catch.